Jonathon here, and welcome back as we're about to enter into our next room, the T-Junction Passage. Now before we begin, I got a few things to go over. First of all, I forgot to use the Gunslinger's Armor 4 Plus again from her mutation fused with rock. As you can see here, here's her mutation fused with rock, and down below it says Armor 4 Plus. I think the reason was that I was thinking that it only applied when being attacked by an enemy, not an encounter card or a weather effect. In the rulebook, on page 15 in the section Armor and Spirit Armor, in the second paragraph it says, if a hero has armor, spirit armor, whenever they are about to take a number of wounds, sanity damage, roll a d6 for each point of damage they are about to take. So as you can see, in the end, damage is damage is damage. Now when Yvette, our gunslinger, got attacked by those ice scarabs and the frigid snow effect from the Targa Plateau, I should have rolled for the Armor 4 Plus. At the moment, our gunslinger only has one wound on her, so I'm going to go ahead and reenact those damages to show you what should have happened. So here is the Gunslinger's one wound that she has on her at the moment. Now before turn 14, our Gunslinger had 0 wounds. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that one wound, so now she has 0 wounds. During turn 14, in step 3, room exploration, we flipped an exploration token and found encounter ×2 on the other side. For the encounter card, it was Ice Scarabs, and the Ice Scarabs dealt a total of 2 points of damage to our Gunslinger, where actually they dealt 4 points of damage, but then we subtracted the Gunslinger's strength score of 2, so that overall they dealt 2 points of damage. So here's our 2 points of damage, number 1, number 2. Next we're going to roll for the Armor 4 Plus. And when we roll for the Armor 4 Plus, we're going to have to roll a d6 and get a 4, 5, or 6 to succeed at it. And we're going to go ahead and roll 1d6 for every point of damage. And since there was 2 points of damage delivered, we're going to go ahead and roll 2d6 to see if we can go ahead and negate those points of damages. Alright, so we got a 4 and a 6, so we succeeded because we rolled a 4 or higher. So with that, we're going to go ahead and negate the 2 points of damage done by the Ice Scarabs. Next, during turn 14, in step 4, end of the turn, Shauna activated her Comforting Presence, so any hero that's adjacent to her can go ahead and remove 1 wound or 1 sanity damage. And since our Gunslinger Yvette was adjacent to her, she could have removed one of those wounds that the Ice Scarabs delivered, but since she already negated them, we're good to go. During turn 16, in step 2, models activate in initiative order. Our Gunslinger Yvette rolled a 1 for movement, which activated the weather effect and caused 1 wound with no defense roll. So here's the 1 wound that she's going to get because of that weather effect. Then we're going to go ahead and roll for the Armor 4 Plus. So we're going to need to roll at least a 4, 5, or 6. And remember, we roll 1d6 for every point of damage. And since there's only 1 point of damage, we'll go ahead and roll just 1d6. So let's see what we get. Alright, well we got a 3, so we did not get a 4, 5, or 6. So because of that, the armor did not succeed in stopping the weather effect and causing 1 point of damage to our Gunslinger. But then in turn 17, in step 4, end of the turn, Shauna activated her Comforting Presence, and since our Gunslinger, Yvette, was adjacent to Shauna, she would be able to go ahead and remove 1 wound or 1 sanity damage. And since she has that 1 wound from the weather effect, she's going to go ahead and remove that wound so that now she'll have no wounds and no sanity damage on her. So instead of our gunslinger starting off turn 18 with that 1 wound that was prior, she's going to go ahead and start off turn 18 with 0 wounds. Next, if you're wondering by chance why I didn't move the Bandita onto the T-Junction Passage map tile during her turn, I decided to keep everyone together at the moment at the opening. Now, just to let you know that whether there is an exploration token on the next map tile or not, you can still move into the room on your turn before step 3, room exploration, if you wish. But of course, with an exploration token on the map tile, you're definitely on your own if you flip that exploration token and something produces an attack or especially an ambush. But since there is no exploration token on the map tile, hopefully everything will be okay. So in this instance, I decided not to move the Bandita onto the T-Junction Passage map tile. But later, I did notice that this was going to be a mistake, as you will see next turn why I say this. And finally, if you were wondering about the crowd tubes encounter card and why our heroes decided not to investigate the crowd tubes, thematically I had Yvette say, we need to hurry up and keep moving. So I decided to have our heroes skip looking at the tubes, but time-wise, in regards to gameplay, everything would have been okay, as everything is finished up in step 3, room exploration, so it was not like it would have taken many turns to resolve this. Now if you're unsure if you can skip a card, just read what it says for you to do. So in this case, the Cryotubes card, just above the Lore 5 in that little paragraph, it says, each hero may try to open one of the Cryotubes if they want. So since it says may and if they want, I went ahead and just had everyone skip that encounter card as if they were in a rush. Next is the recap. In the cryo chamber, other than some annoying ice scarabs, there were no enemies to deal with. Well, physically at least, like night terrors, stranglers, or void spiders. For all of our heroes, the only other enemies our heroes had to deal with was the weather effects from the Targa Plateau and the warping energies from the Darkstone Experiments card. Regarding the weather effect from the Targa Plateau, the Bandita and the Gunslinger had to deal with the weather effect because they rolled a 1 on their movement. Our Bandita, though she had to deal with the weather effect because she rolled a 1 on her movement, she took no damage from the weather effect as she is wearing the Dusty Poncho. As you can see here on the Dusty Poncho card at the bottom it says, ignore weather effects. Our Gunslinger, on the other hand, she took damage from the weather effect as her Armor 4 Plus from her mutation fused with rock did not stop the damage from affecting her. Now regarding the warping energies from the Darkstone Experiments card. All of our heroes got affected and received at least 1 corruption point. Yvette, our Gunslinger, she received 2 corruption points, so she has a total of 3 corruption points and is carrying 4 Darkstones. Now that might be an issue a little bit later on, as you know, at the end of the adventure, from the Darkstones you got to roll a d6 for each Darkstone, and if you get a 1, 2, or 3, then those Darkstones are going to turn into a corruption hit. And then depending on how many corruption hits you got, then you have to go ahead and roll a willpower save against that, and if you fail, then those corruption hits turn into corruption points. Then, finally, those corruption points, if you get 5 of them, you're going to mutate. Next, Shauna, our Saloon Girl, she received 1 corruption point. So now she has a total of 2 corruption points, and she is carrying 9 Darkstones. So this is definitely going to be an issue at the end of the adventure when she's got to roll for it, so she better be careful. She might be mutating here later on. Sam, our U.S. Marshal, she received 2 corruption points. So she has a total of 2 corruption points, and she is carrying 2 Darkstones, but she is also carrying 4 items that are charged with Darkstone energy. And how can you tell or know if an item is charged with Darkstone energy is that here's one of her items, which is the Rune of the Void. And And in the upper left-hand corner, there's this symbol here, which is a darkstone icon. And what that means is that this item is considered the same as a darkstone. So at the end of the adventure, you're going to add up the number of darkstones that you're carrying and any items that have that symbol, the darkstone icon. And with that, you're going to have to roll against to see if you get corruption points. Finally, Angela, our bandita, she received 2 corruption points. So she has a total of 3 corruption points, but she's not carrying any darkstones. And one of the reasons is that she's got that darkstone allergy, and because of that, I'm making her not carrying any darkstones or any items that has that darkstone icon on it. Now for each of our heroes. Yvette, our gunslinger, she was okay against the ice scarabs as her mutation stopped her from getting any wounds, but not against the weather effects and took 1 wound. She was hit and missing while scavenging as she found some journal pages, but then found a hideous discovery card and took 4 sanity damage. Luckily enough, her bottles of whiskey were there with her to quickly disperse its effects. Shauna, our saloon girl, she got nibbled upon by a lot of small ice scarabs and then quickly bandaged up to reduce the total number of wounds on her. She was not doing too good as she brought in 2 growing dread cards, one from scavenging and drawing a darkness card, and one from failing the hold back the darkness roll. Sam, our U.S. Marshal, she got munched on pretty good by those ice scarabs. 7 wounds, ouch, and had trouble with scavenging as she didn't find anything. And finally, Angela, our bandita, she got nibbled upon by some ice scarabs, found some void crystals, which she gave to Shauna, let loose some darkness, which will help some demons move faster with demonic speed, and found 2 darkstones, which Shauna took because of Angela's darkstone allergy. So that's going to end the recap for our heroes and the cryo chamber room. And last is the XP money update. Our gunslinger Yvette, she started out with 340 XP, dealt with some small ice scarabs and obtained some XP from scavenging, so she is now at 420 XP. Now remember that Yvette used 2 whiskey tokens on herself to heal her sanity damage of the 4 from the hideous discovery card, and because she healed herself, she doesn't receive any XP from using the whiskey that way. So as you can see here in the rule book, on page 16 in the upper section, healing, subsection healing other heroes, in the first paragraph it says, anytime a hero heals wounds or sanity damage from another hero, regardless of the method, they gain 5 XP for each wound sanity healed. So since she healed up 4 sanity damage, she would have received 20 XP. But since she used the 2 whiskey tokens on herself, she receives 0 XP. Now the smart thing to do would have been to give the whiskey tokens to another hero and have them use the whiskey tokens on her, and then they would have received the 20 XP for healing the sanity damage. She started out with $940, and after finding an unknown amount of 3 dark stones and some journal pages, so she is now at $990. Our saloon girl Shauna, she started out with 225 XP, dealt with a lot of small ice scarabs, used her comforting presence 10 times, and obtained some XP from scavenging. So she is now at 355 XP. Now just like Yvette using the whiskey tokens to heal her sanity damage, Shauna used a bandage token to heal herself of wounds. And because she used a bandage the same way Yvette used those whiskey tokens, she will not receive any XP. She started out with $600, and after finding a small find and an unknown amount of darkstone, she is now at $625. But then Angela gave her some void crystals worth $100 and an unknown amount of 2 darkstones, so her total increased to $725. Our U.S. Marshal Sam, she started out with 490 XP, The Rune of the Void on her hunting rifle activated when she passed through the gate, dealt with some bigger ice scarabs and obtained some XP from scavenging, so she is now at 585 XP. She started out with $650 and did not find anything of value, so she is still at $650. And finally, our Bandita Angela, she started out with 345 XP, dealt with some small ice scarabs and obtained some XP from scavenging, so she is now at 415 XP. She started out with $325, and after finding some void crystals worth $100 and an unknown amount of 2 dark stones, she is now at $425. But then Angela gave the void crystals worth $100 and the unknown amount of 2 dark stones to Shauna, so her total decreased to $325. So with that cryo chamber almost behind them, it looks like at least one of our heroes, Sam, the US Marshal, is just past the halfway mark to obtain hero level 3. And remember that the hero posse level of your heroes is determined by the highest hero level at the starting of each adventure. And if one or more hero levels up mid-game, the hero posse level does not change. So regarding the toughness of the enemies, i.e. brutal side of the enemy record sheet and or elite abilities, at our current hero posse level 2, the enemies have no bonus, whereas if our hero posse level was 3, the enemies would have 1 elite ability bonus. So as you can see here in the adventure book, on page 9, in the section Hero Posse Level, subsection Tougher Monsters, it shows a chart that shows the hero posse level and then the enemy bonus of the enemies. So you can see 1 and 2 there's no bonus, 3 and 4 will give them some elite bonuses, 5 and 6, 7 and 8 give them the brutal side of the enemies plus some elite ability bonuses. And as an example, here's our Night Terror's enemy record sheet. As you can see, it is in green, which depicts a normal enemy. And then down below is where our elite abilities are at. And then on the chart, it says that you go to the brutal side. So you just flip it over, and now it's in red, which is the brutal side of the Night Terrors. And down below, it still has an elite ability section. Now, some of the abilities or other stats will change when coming over to this other side. So as you can see, it has Terror 2 in the ability section. And if you flip it over, it has Terror 2, Soul Drain, and Claws. It's got an initiative of 4. Over here it's got an initiative of 3. So as you can see, depending on your posse level, you could come up against a different enemy each time. Well, there you go. Let's continue on as we continue with our next turn, turn 18. Now before we move our first player marker up to our gunslinger and have our saloon girl, Shauna, hold back the darkness, it looks like several of our heroes have lost some weight and some color as they've gone back to gray again. And yep, sure enough, it looks like we also got some gender swapping for some of our heroes, as the gray models are all now the correct gender. They're all females. So let's go ahead and take a look at our 4 females here. We got our saloon girl. She's still in color. And then our bandita. She's got her guns held high. Our gunslinger, she's got her guns held low and ready to go. And finally our US Marshal, she's got her shotgun on her hip, all nice and casual. Now these 3 gray models are the alternate genders of the original heroes from the first Shadows of Brimstone's core box, City of the Ancients. And there's actually 4 of them. And the fourth one is a male piano player. So these 4 alternate genders can go ahead and replace the 4 original heroes that are in that first Shadows of Brimstone's core box, City of the Ancients. Now if you'd like to, you can go ahead and check out the playlist unboxing for the unboxing of these alternate genders, and also the playlist miniature assembling for the assembling of these alternate genders. Also, as I said in a previous video, that I got some printed out hero and enemy tokens from the seller of a previous purchase. So with those new tokens, I'm going to go ahead and replace all of these hero tokens on the initiative track with the female hero tokens that I received. So here's our male gunslinger. And I'm going to go ahead and replace him with the female gunslinger. We have the female saloon girl. So I'm going to go ahead and just replace her with that new token of the same female saloon girl. Then we got the male U.S. Marshal. And then here is our female U.S. Marshal. And finally the male bandito. I'm going to go ahead and replace him with the female bandita. If you'd like to print out your very own tokens, I'll go ahead and leave a link down in the show notes where you can find them. Well, there you go. Everyone is all set and ready to go. So let's go ahead and continue on with turn 18. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and move our first player marker up to our gunslinger. And then have Shauna, our saloon girl, hold back the darkness. Alright, so we got a 4, and 4 is less than the 7 plus that the hero posse marker is in. But because we rolled that doubles, remember that we're going to go ahead and consult the depth event chart. Now, there are 2 different sections here, the mine depth events and the otherworld Targa Plateau depth events. And since we are in the Targa Plateau, we're going to go ahead and look at the Targa Plateau depth events section. Double twos is a 2, and it is a dark dread. Things are looking more and more bleak by the moment. Draw a growing dread card to add to the stack. So we have our growing dread cards here, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 left. So we'll go and take one of them and add it to the stack. And now let's go ahead and with the initiative order. We'll start with our gunslinger, Yvette. So Yvette's going to go ahead and start with her movement. And she gets a 4. Remember, she's got a -3 because of her mutation and that injury that she has. So she has a 1 movement. But the bandita and the saloon girl are in front of her. So she cannot even move past them to get into the T-Junction Passage. Now remember, I said earlier that there was a mistake, and this was the mistake, is that, remember, you cannot move through other models unless you got some kind of a card or special ability, like Shauna does, where she's got the acrobatic dodge that lets her move through other models. So our gunslinger, she's just going to have to stay there, and that's going to end her movement. Now, since she is on the cryo chamber map tile, she's going to end up taking 1 corruption hit from the warping energies. Now we're going to have to go ahead and roll against that to see if that corruption hit does not turn into a corruption point. She's got a willpower of 4+, so let's see if she makes it. And she gets a 2, so she does not make it. That's going to give her another corruption point. And she's going to go on to her next part. Okay, she's done moving. So now we're going to go on to the other part of her activation, which is the search. And the cryo chamber map tile already has been searched and scavenged with the 5 scavenge tokens there. So she's pretty much not going to be able to do anything. So she's just going to have to go ahead and just sit there until the bandita and or the saloon girl move. So next one up is going to be the saloon girl. So our saloon girl is going to go ahead and move. So she gets a 3. Then she's got that ability fast that gives her +1, so she gets a 4. So she goes ahead and she moves up here 1, 2, and she looks left, looks right. Which way should we go? We're going to try to the right. So there's number 3, and then 4 puts her on the edge of that map tile. And that's going to end her movement. And then she is off of the cryo chambers map tile, because remember she was on that split section where the 2 map tiles connect. So she doesn't get affected by the warping energies causing a corruption hit. So she's going to go ahead and search the T-Junction Passage. So she's going to get 4d6 to roll for the scavenging. 1, 3, 3, 3. Alright, so she does not scavenge. And that is going to end our saloon girl's turn. Next up is going to be the U.S. Marshal. So she's going to go ahead and do her movement. And she gets a 3. And if she moves along, Yvette says, remember, leave me a space at the front. So 1, 2, 3. She moves there. And then she's going to go ahead and scavenge. So she's going to roll 3d6 and see if she gets a 6. 1, 2, and a 4. So nope, our U.S. Marshal Sam, she does not scavenge the T-Junction Passage. So that's going to end her turn. And next up is our bandita. And let's go ahead and do her movement. Alright, so she gets a 4. So she's going to be moving around. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And Yvette's like, leave me some room. And they look back at her and go, well, you're moving really slow as it is, so I don't think we're going to have any issues here. And our bandita, she's going to go ahead and scavenge the T-Junction Passage. And she's going to go ahead and roll 4d6 because she gets that extra die because of the Ace of Spades card. Three, 5, 6, and 6. Excellent. So she finds 2 items. So let's go ahead and get the scavenge deck to see what she got. And the first one is nothing here. Scavenge 10 XP. The room appears to have nothing of value. Nothing to find. Alright. And our next one is Hideous Discovery. Scavenge 10 XP. Poking around in the shadows, you see something that chills you to the bone. You quickly return to the group, refusing to speak of what you found. Take 3 horror hits, lose 2 sanity for each horror hit failed. Alright, so we gotta go ahead and roll 3d6. And then our bandita's got a 5+ on her willpower. Oh! 1, 2, 3. Strike 3, you're out. Alright, she fails all 3 of them, which means that she's going to take 2 sanity for each horror hit failed. That's 6. So her bandita, she's going to go ahead and take 6 sanity damage. And she's kind of freaking out there. She's like, what the heck? I didn't see that. No, I don't believe it. No way. No, that's not, that can't be. So she's going to go ahead and she grabs in her side bag. She's going to go ahead and use one of her whiskey tokens to see if she can get some of that sanity off of her. So let's go and roll a d6, see what happens. Okay, so she gets a 5. So she's going to get 5 of that sanity damage removes as she swigs down that bottle of whiskey squints her eyes a little bit and says, okay, I don't know what I saw or what happened or whatever, but I don't believe it. I'm okay. I'm okay. A little jittery there, but I'm okay. So that's going to end the Bandita's turn and step 2. Next we got step 3, room exploration. Well, there's no exploration tokens on the T-Junction Passage, so we can go ahead and just skip over step 3. And finally step 4, end of the turn. So if there's any cards or abilities out there, which our saloon girl, Shauna, has the comforting presence, but there are no heroes adjacent to her. So no one is going to get any of their wounds or sanity damage healed up. So with that, that's going to end step 4 and the end of turn 18. So let's go ahead and go back to the beginning with turn 19. We're at the beginning of the turn with turn 19, and it looks like the target plateau is starting to affect the new alternate genders as they are looking a bit white. All of our new alternate gender heroes are primed up with some black and white primer before we start our painting process. The black showing the shadows and the white showing the highlights. So as you can see, all of our heroes are white from the primer except for the saloon girl, who is still in color. And the saloon girl is part of the 4 original heroes from the first Shadows of Brimstone's core box, City of the Ancients. So she is not one of the alternate genders, but instead the piano player, he is the saloon girl's alternate gender, and here he is, all primed up. And then for our other 3, we have the Bandita, and our U.S. Marshal, and finally our Gunslinger. If you'd like to, you can go ahead and check out the playlist Miniature Painting for the updates on the miniatures that I'm going to be painting for all of my games. But first, let's go ahead and continue on with turn 19. So let's go ahead and move the first player marker up to the Gunslinger. And then we're going to have Shauna, our saloon girl, hold back the darkness. Okay, she got a 10. That is way plenty, because all she needs was a 7+ to hold back the darkness, since the hero posse marker is in the 7+ section. So she did pretty good there. So our first hero up is our Gunslinger, and she's going to go ahead and do her movement. And let's see if she can get off that cryo chamber map tile so she doesn't get another corruption hit. Get a corruption point, and that would make number 5 for her. And that would end up mutating her. So let's see if she can get off that map tile. Okay, so she rolled a 5. She's got that -3 from the mutation and her injury, so she only gets to move 2. So 1, 2. It's going to put her there and off of that cryo chamber map tile, so she doesn't have to worry about that anymore. So next she's going to either search or fight an enemy, and there's no enemies on the board, so she's going to go ahead and search. But remember last turn, our Bandita, Angela, she already searched this map tile, the T-Junction Passage, and scavenged it. But of course you're looking at the map tile saying, well, I don't see anything that says she scavenged it. Now normally what I do is, on top of the scavenge deck, I'll put one of these scavenge tokens. Well, I didn't have the scavenge token on there last time, so it slipped my mind, but since Angela, the Bandita, did scavenge the T-Junction Passage, I'm going to go ahead and place this scavenge token right there on that map tile. And with that, that is going to end the gunslinger's turn. So next up is going to be the saloon girl, Shauna. So she's right there at the end of the map tile on that connection point between two map tiles. And she's going to go ahead and do her movement. And she gets a 3, so she's just going to stay there. And then next she does her searching or fighting an enemy. And since there's no enemies, she's going to search. But there's already the scavenge token on there. And the other part she could do is looking through a door to see what the next map tile is going to be. But she decided and yelled back to Yvette Slowpoke Wilson, "Come on, Yvette, hurry up! Get up here so we can get into this next room." So Shauna, our saloon girl, is not going to look through the door, and with that, that is going to end her turn. Next up is going to be our U.S. Marshal, Sam. So she's going to go ahead and do her movement. And she rolls a 1 for her movement. So that's going to cause several things to happen. First of all, she's going to do her movement of 1, and she's going to go ahead and move back here so that next turn, Yvette, our gunslinger, can move past her to get up to the front there next to Shauna. Alright, second, she rolled a 1, which means that she gets a grit. But at the moment, she's already maxed out on her grits. She has a max grit count of 3, and she has 3 grit tokens on her hero character sheet at the moment. So she can't do anything with that grit token. And the last thing is the frigid snow effect from the Targa Plateau is going to cause her to get 1 damage with no defense roll. So with that, here's her 1 wound that she's going to get. So she's got a total of 4 wounds at the moment. And then next she's going to go ahead and do the searching or the enemies. And there's no enemies. And for searching, it's already been scavenged. And with that, that is going to end the U.S. Marshal's turn. And finally, the Bandita is up, Angela. So she's going to go ahead and roll for her movement. And she gets a 5, but she is just going to go ahead and stay there so that she doesn't cause any kind of clustering and let Yvette move on up to the front line there. And then our Bandita, she can either search or attack an enemy. There's no enemies, and then she already scavenged the map tile last turn. So with that, that is going to end her turn. So now we're done with step 2. Let's go on to step 3, which is room exploration. And since this is a T-Junction Passage, there is no exploration tokens on these passageways here, so we go ahead and skip over step 3. And then we go to step 4, end of the turn. So any cards or abilities can go off, and one of them would be Shauna, the saloon girl's comforting presence. But once again, there is no heroes adjacent to her, so she cannot do anything with that ability. So with that, that is going to end step 4, and also turn 19. So let's go back to the beginning with turn 20. So let's go ahead and move our first player marker back up to the gunslinger. And then have our saloon girl go ahead and hold back the darkness. Okay, double 5s. Uh-oh. Alright, well, that's a 10, which she would have made the 7 plus, but because we rolled the double 5s, we're going to go ahead and consult the depth event chart for the Targa Plateau. So I'll go ahead and look at the depth event chart. Double 5s is on the bottom here in the Targa Plateau area. 5. Echoes of Death. For a moment, ghostly figures of a long dead race can be seen moving through the halls. As you look on in disbelief, one of them stops and looks back at you. One random hero in the target plateau immediately takes 2d6 horror hits. Okay, so we need to roll to see who our random hero is going to be. And I'll go ahead and roll a d8. And on a 1-2, Gunslinger, 3-4, Saloon Girl, 5-6, U.S. Marshal, and 7-8, the Bandita. Okay, we got a 6. So that is the U.S. Marshal, Sam. So she's going to go ahead and take 2d6 horror hits. And we'll see what she gets here. Okay, she gets a 7. So she's got 7 horror hits there. And that's going to be 7 sanity damage. Now she's going to have to roll a willpower of 4+ against those 7 to see which ones she succeeds on canceling out. So we're going to need 7 dice. I got 4 here and 3 more. So we'll go ahead and need 4+. Okay, so here's 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4. She fails 4 of them. So our U.S. Marshal Sam is going to go ahead and take 4 sanity damage. Okay, that hurt. That hurt a little bit. Ouch. All right. So that's not a good way to start off turn 20 here. And before we continue on, let's go ahead and look at this depth event chart for the differences between the mine depth events and the other world, the target plateau depth events. So up top here is the mine depth events. Down here is the other world, target plateau depth events. And if you look at the doubles rolled of 1 through 6, the 1, 2, and 3 in both of the areas, the mines and the target plateau, are the same. They have the same name, ambush attack, dark dread, creeping darkness, and they both do the same. So ambush attack is an ambush attack. Dark dread, you draw a growing dread card, and creeping darkness, you move the darkness 2 steps forward on the depth track. So 4, 5, and 6 are which are going to be different. In the mine for 4 is falling rubble. So each hero is going to take d6 hits. Whereas in the target plateau, the number 4 is Blizzard. And what happens is at the start of each turn, each hero is going to take 1 automatic hit. And it is a weather effect, so if you have something that'll stop a weather effect, like the Saloon Girl and the Bandita, they have those ponchos, then you can go ahead and don't have to worry about that. In the mines, number 5 is Terrifying Shriek. And each hero in the mines take d6 horror hits. And for 5 in the target plateau, Echoes of Death. And that's 1 random hero, which was Sam, or U.S. Marshal. And she takes 2d6 horror hits. And then in the mines, number 6 is Stubborn Resolve. Get to each hero heals d6 wound sanity, any mix, or recovers 1 grit, and then a KO hero is immediately recovered. And then number 6 in the target plateau is Treasures of the Past. Each hero may immediately draw a loot card, and KO heroes immediately recover. So that's pretty cool. A little bit of difference between the mines and the target plateau. So with that, we'll go ahead and continue on. Let's go into our models activate in initiative order, and our gunslinger is up. So let's go ahead and move our gunslinger, Yvette. Okay, so she gets a 5 for her movement, and then that mutation and injury is going to drop her down 3, so she gets to move 2. She'll go ahead and move 1, 2. Oh, getting so close. Come on, Yvette, keep going, you can do it. Alright, so she's going to go ahead and hold there for her movement. Still a big debate whether I use the grits or not to get another movement out of her, but there's really not much danger there. So unless some weird happens where I end up drawing a card that brings an ambush attack or something in, but at the moment we're just going to stay right there with her. And then we're going to move on to the search or the enemy attack, and there's no enemies and the tile's been scavenged already, so that is going to end her turn. So we'll go ahead and move down to our saloon girl. So Shauna will go ahead and do her movement. And she gets a 2. So she's just going to stay there. But because of the target plateau on 1 and 2 for your movement, you can go ahead and get a grit. But at the moment she has 2 grits already on her hero character sheet. And she has a maximum grit of 2, so she cannot get any more grits. And then she's not going to search, or there's no enemies on the board, so none of that's going to happen. And she is at the end, so she could do looking through a door, but she's going to wait till everyone is up with her so that we don't have to worry about if there's an ambush attack or anything like that where enemies are going to surround everyone. So we'll leave it right there. So that is going to end her turn. We'll go ahead and move down here to the U.S. Marshal, Sam. And she'll go ahead and do her movement. Okay, so she gets a 3. And all she's going to do is just going to go 1, 2 to move right in behind Shauna. And then after that, that's going to end her movement there. And then there's no searching because it's been scavenged already and there's no enemies on the board. And she's not at the end of the tile there, so she cannot do looking through a door, so that is going to end her turn. Let's go and move our flare marker down to the Bandita, Angela. And she's going to go ahead and do her movement. And she gets a 3. So our Bandita, she doesn't have any cards or any kind of special abilities that lets her move through any other model or anything like our Saloon Girl does, where she's got that acrobatic dodge. Plus, she's just going to let the gunslinger, Yvette, move all the way up to the front. So that's going to end her movement. And then there's no enemies on the board and no searching because it's already been searched and scavenged by Angela. So that's going to end Angela, the Bandita's turn. And that's going to end step 2. So we go on to step 3, which is room exploration. And because it's a passageway, there wasn't even any kind of an exploration token placed on there. So we'll go ahead and just skip step 3. And we'll move on to step 4, which is end of the turn. So any cards or abilities out there that can happen at this time will happen. And at the moment we have 2 heroes that are adjacent to our Saloon Girl. So our Saloon Girl can go ahead and do her comforting presence. So since our gunslinger is adjacent to her, and all she has is actually just 1 wound, Yvette's going to go ahead and remove this 1 wound from her. So now she has 0 wounds and 0 sanity on her. And then we have the U.S. Marshal. She's adjacent to the Saloon Girl just behind her. And she's even. She's got 4 wounds and 4 sanity on her. And she's going to go ahead and remove 1 of those wounds. So now she's down to 3 wounds. And then, since she just saw some kind of a ghostly figure in the hallways there, she's going to go ahead and grab her last bottle of whiskey. And she's going to swig that down. She's got 4 sanity damage on her. So we'll see how many of those sanities she gets rid of. And she gets a 4. So she's going to go ahead and remove all 4 of those sanity damages. Now she is all good to go. She just has 3 wounds on her and no sanity damage. Well, that's going to end step 4 and turn 20. So let's go ahead and move on to turn 21. Well, that was fast, as the Technicolor has consumed the alternate gender heroes, and now all of the heroes are painted up. So let's go ahead and take a look at the alternate gender heroes and see what they look like. First one we have here is the female gunslinger. And our female bandita. Our female U.S. Marshal. And then the last alternate gender isn't on the map tile, and that is going to be the male piano player. If you'd like to, you can go ahead and check out the playlist Miniature Painting for the completion of these models. So let's go ahead and continue on with turn 21. So let's go ahead and start out by taking the first player marker and moving it up to our gunslinger, and then we'll go ahead and have our saloon girl hold back the darkness. She gets an 8, and that's plenty because all she needed was a 7+, so Shauna holds back the darkness. Excellent. So let's go ahead and start with models activating in initiative order, and our gunslinger Yvette is up first, and she'll go ahead and do her movement. And hopefully she doesn't move that slow, because pretty much she just has 1 square to go to. So let's see what she gets. Okay, she gets a 4. Then she's got that -3 to movement, so that's a 1. But that is all that she needs, as she moves up 1 right next to her sister and looks over and says, "All right, I'm ready to go. Let's continue on." Shauna just rolls her eyes. Oh, sisters. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and continue on with the search or the enemies on the board. And the map tile has already been scavenged, and there is no enemies on the board. So that's going to go ahead and end Yvette's turn. So let's go ahead and move our first player marker down to Shauna, our saloon girl. And Yvette is motioning to her. Okay, let's do what you do. So let's go ahead and do her movement. And she gets a 2. Now in the target plateau, a movement of 1 or 2 will get her a grit, but she's already maxed out on grits, so that will end her movement. Next up, she's able to do search or enemies. Now there's no enemies on the board, and the map tile has been scavenged already, so she can't do that. But there's another part to the search, and that is looking through a door. So Shauna has been waiting for Yvette to get her slowpoke butt up here, and she's going to go ahead and look through the door to see what we get. So we'll go and grab the map deck here for the target plateau, and we got our tattletale on here to say move that hero posse marker 1 space, and let's see what we are going to get for the next room, and it is the heart. Alright, and before we look for the map tile, let's go ahead and move that hero posse marker down to space 11. And even though that 11 had a growing dread marker on it, it's not going to be activated by the hero posse marker. It is only activated by the darkness marker. So let's go and look for that heart map tile. Okay, here we go. There's the heart map tile, and our arrow is right there saying that this is the entrance into the map tile, so it's going to go right there. But as you can see, we seem to have some cards in the way. So I'm going to go ahead and do some movement around here. So let's go ahead and take a little break as I go ahead and set up the heart. Hello there, and welcome back as we're about to enter into the heart. And it is the next map tile our heroes are about to enter into. And the first thing we got to do is place an exploration token on the map tile. And this is the map tile's card for the heart, and there's 3 exits. And also, since we're doing advanced, we need to go look for the Heart of the City encounter card. So here's the encounter deck for the target plateau, and we are looking for Heart of the City. And there it is. And then we'll go ahead and just leave that right there for now, because we'll go ahead and reveal the exploration token, and then whatever is on the other side of the exploration token, we'll be adding the encounter card Heart of the City to that. So this is going to end Shauna's turn, and next one up is going to be the U.S. Marshal, and she doesn't have much farther to travel other than just right there, because Shauna and Yvette are in her way, but we're still going to roll for movement because she might be able to get a grit. So let's see what she gets for her movement. Okay, so she gets a 1. And what's going to happen with that one is that the frigid snow effect for the target plateau is going to go off, and she's going to end up receiving 1 automatic wound with no defense roll. So she's going to go ahead and get another wound, and that's going to make a total of 4 wounds on her. And that's going to end her movement. And then next will be the search or the enemies, and there's no enemies around, and there's no searching because the map tile that she's on is the T-Junction Passage, and that one's already been scavenged. Now, even if she was up on the heart map tile, she could not scavenge that one because there's a exploration token on there that has not been flipped over yet. So that's going to end our U.S. Marshal's turn. Next up will be the Bandita. So we'll go ahead and roll for her movement. And she's going to get a 2. And all she needs to do is just move 1 to get behind the group there. And by rolling a 2, she's able to receive a grit, because in the target plateau, on a 1 or 2, you're able to receive a grit. Now, with special cases, like with the Bandita, she's got that special ability that says wild card. And here says you may recover a grit on a move roll of 1 or 2. Now, if you have that special ability in the target plateau, you're able to actually receive 2 grits. But at the moment, she already has 2 grits on her hero character sheet, so she's already maxed out. So that's going to end her movement, and then go to the next part of her activation, which is either search or enemies, and there's no enemies on the board, and that map tile was already scavenged by her already, so that is going to end her turn. So we'll go ahead and go to the next step, which is step 3, room exploration. And at this moment, we're going to go ahead and stop the video here. So join us next time as we find out what the exploration token has to offer for our heroes as they enter into the heart.